Alright, so I do have some exciting news for you guys. We actually ended up installing the Autosport Engineering short shifter slash relocation kit, which surprisingly fit really well. I did have a struggle with it for a little while, but now everything is dialed in. What is going on, guys? Welcome to today's video. So I will just let you guys know, this video basically is me installing the kit on my CD009, which I did a full rebuild on. If you want to check out my channel, you can go ahead. That would be awesome. Definitely finish this video before you do that. But Autosport Engineering was nice enough to send me this shirt so I can show you guys exactly how to properly install his adapter plate on my CD009 that I just rebuilt and install it in my SC300, which I'm super excited for. Today we're going to go ahead and install the relocation shifter, which is the not top mounted one that they offer, but the rear one that they're offering, which is going to be this right here. It's a beautiful piece, and I'm really excited because I have the GK Tech S14 copper pilot bearing, which I already put some high temp grease in that, so that's going to really feel a lot better with the car. And I did order a shift knob from Japan, but for some reason they haven't shipped it out yet. But for the meantime, I just got a Delrim TRD shift knob. This is all going to be for mock-up purposes, so I can see what throw I want to have the car in, and especially try out the shifter. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews with the shifter. A lot of people say it's really clunky, like it doesn't shift smoothly, it's not built right, and I kind of want to be here to help you guys be able to install it correctly. Actually, when I was ordering all of my parts, I actually reached out to Tony, and he was very helpful. Obviously, with the whole kit, it's a pretty penny. It's not as much as all the other manual swap conversion kits that are offered online for the SC300. However, this is the most budget that gets the job done. And for me, obviously, this is like a budget drift car that I'm trying to do everything correctly on. And I don't have, all the money to spend, but I do want some drive and seat time, and I definitely just want the gears to shift because I have already done track days with the car, and go watch those because all of my previous drift days that I have had already are all when it's an automatic. So now that it's going to be a 6-speed, it's going to be night and day. I do have a couple more things I have to order, like the drive shaft is a big thing. I haven't ordered that yet. This is going to be your Autosport Engineering rear mount relocation shift, which is nice because it's billet, so you know it's going to last a long time. I'm not going to lie, I've had this thing out in the garage through extremely hot days because we're here in Las Vegas, and also the monsoon season is pushed a lot of rain water through, and it has been unboxed in my garage. This thing is a super nice piece. I like how they have the Autosport Engineering hit on this side, which is nice. It does come with all the bolts. So also, a lot of people were being confused on Facebook, the SC300 groups, and a lot of other forums were saying that they had a big gripe about the shifter because the reverse lockout wasn't working correctly. And I asked Tony about this, and Tony actually explained to me that he'd put this plate. So this is a plate right here that goes on these two bolts right here, and you lock them down, and you have shims, and you have spacers so that it can be like pretty much a riser, if that makes sense, because there is a lockout right here, a water lockout on that, and a lot of people couldn't get into reverse because when they first got the shifter, they'd put it right onto the car and they'd cover it up with their shift boot, and unfortunately they didn't readjust that. That's the reason why they don't come installed already now, because every single transmission has its own quirks, if that makes sense. Like, you're not going to get into someone's car with the manual transmission and just right off the bat rip on it. You have to learn the car, and each car has a different engagement point, each car has a different clutch setup. It varies, all of them vary. So same thing with this. that's what one of the biggest gripes that everyone had was they couldn't get into reverse and they had trouble. Tony actually told me how to do it, so that's why I'm here telling you guys, because if you guys go to Autosport Engineering, their channel, Tony has a really good walkthrough. However, his videos are more just talking about the product and not really deep diving into how the product is. So I thought, to be kind of a helping hand for you guys, this is what I'm going to be running in my ST300 here in Vegas in the local grassroots drift events. And also, I want to compare how it is to the GK Tech, because I've driven Buddy's ST300 with the GK Tech in it as well, so I'm going to be comparing that. I haven't had the pleasure of knowing anyone here in Vegas that has the CD009 shifter, which I was originally going to get, but I couldn't wrap my head around spending that much, so I went ahead and got this. Plus, with me, whatever combination I go with, whatever package I go with, so to speak, for the manual swap, I wanted to stick to the same company, because obviously they will most likely have the tolerances very close to each other so that everything pretty much works with the kit. The only thing I'm not going through with them is going to be my drive shaft, because I'm going to get that done locally so that if anything happens to it, I can get that warrantied out, so to speak. Let's stop talking story. Let's get right into this installation. Show you guys how to do the lockout plate, get my short throw settings where it needs to be. I literally just put this transmission together. Like, this is literally the first day I'm installing this on it, because I want to make sure that it goes into every single gear. It has no oil in it. I just did a full refresh on the rebuild, because when I got the transmission, it didn't have the shift rod, so I couldn't make sure all the other gears were okay, but I ended up taking it all apart, putting it all back together, so everything's nice. So this will be the final piece of the puzzle, and it'll be the cherry on top for us to get everything ready to put it in the car. Alright, so the first step to this is going to be to put in our shift coupler. This is basically going to go on top of this shaft right here, and we're going to punch it in. When you get this kit, you're going to notice that there are spacers. These are going to be the spacers with the bolts, and actually they have roll pins as well. What we'll do is we're actually going to save this roll pin, and I'm going to use the stock one that came with this. For right now, just so that I can use all the OEM parts, we're going to do that. So let's line it up correctly. Put that first roll pin in. Alright, so after some pretty fierce negotiating, finally got it on. The problem I had was the top hole going down didn't line up with the bottom as much as the bottom going up the top. So if you are going to be installing this, I would definitely recommend going from the bottom with the roll pins and putting them in. But they did go really nice, and there is no way this thing's coming out. It wasn't as flush as I want it to be, but you know what, I'm not going to complain, because as long as it shifts and doesn't you know, affect the shifter at all, which it won't, then that's fine with me. So this is where it gets interesting and cool. So I'm not going to be installing the reverse lockout until the very last part of it, just because I want to make sure that this pivot cup on the bottom of this goes in nice and flush. The GK Tech S14 pivot cup will actually fit perfectly in this. So that is a huge upgrade that I wanted to put on the car so that it would shift nicer, and it fits just like OEM. So this is kind of where the spacers would come into play. So for instance, if you had a problem with your shifter being below this point, then you would need the spacers, because I guess not all CD009s, the height are not all the same, but for this example, this right here, you just want to make sure that it covers it completely. You don't want it to be sticking out at all. Yeah, I'm gonna have to put the other spacer on. The reason why is because when I go to put it into reverse. So yeah, let's go ahead and take this off real quick. Put the bigger spacer on, see if that lands us where we want to be, and then from there we can try this all over again. All right, so now let's put this on. See if this one changes it. So we're going up to the next size, and if this doesn't change it to where we want it to be, then we'll have to put both of them combined. Reverse has been the trickiest one here, so let's see if we can figure that out real quick. So, like that, over, there we go. We're in reverse now, perfect. So, with that being said, I am gonna have to stack more, because now that I have this pivot cup on, it's not liking how there's not enough space. So I'm gonna have to definitely put a little bit more space in between. Let's go ahead and take this out, and then once we get everything aligned, we'll take it all off, Loctite it all down, and we'll be good to go. But I'm glad it goes into every single gear. I am very curious to see if I start like actually spinning each gear, if it stays in. So that is my next kind of thing I'm curious about. So let's get this on with all the spacers on. So there and there. Trickiest part now is going to be to line everything up the way it wants to line up. Then it has to go through each spacer and get into a hole. Obviously, I need to make sure this pivot cup goes in too. A lot of moving parts in this one now. There we go. This is, a short throw shifter and a relocation kit as well. Yeah, I don't have the extension on right now, which will give you majority of your, leverage, so to speak. But I just want to see. I'm curious to see how it is without it and how it is with it. If I can compare one thing and see how it is, that's what I'm doing right now with the drift builder. I'm doing all of this stuff so everyone can see at this point how each component improves or declines your driving, you know what I mean? So just tighten it down all the way so that it's, nice and flush. And then we're gonna go back and Loctite it after we're done. All right, let's see how this works now. Yep, there we go. The spacers were the factor, the differentiating factor. So let's see if I can get this into reverse. Yep, reverse is right there. And obviously when it's in the car, it's gonna actually be, not rolling like this. There we go, that's fifth, and that's sixth, and then reverse. Make sure we're in reverse. Dude, the tolerances on this thing is awesome. I love it. There we go. Perfect. Yep. Second. Yep. Third. Fourth. Alright, so I got it where I want it to be, and it goes into every gear now. So first, that sound is it moving over, and I know for a fact that that's first. So that's first, that's second, that's third, that's fourth, that's fifth, there we go, that's sixth. Okay, so we got all of that. I have this pretty much mounted where I want it to be, so to speak, and when it goes in, it's definitely gonna fit a lot more straighter than it is, because right now it's just pivoting on the bottom two, which making it look like it's leaning to the right, which it is. So let me go ahead before we go any further. All right, so we have some Permatex blue thread locker. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to lift each bolt individually. That way it stays nice and tight, doesn't move on us, because this is where we want it to be. We're gonna lift the bolt up, awesome, and then we're just gonna hit the bottom few threads with this Loctite, because then as it goes up, it's gonna cover everything. So That's honestly more than I wanted it to be, but this is a gel, so it's gonna dry a little bit slower than it would if it was a liquid form. So we're gonna go ahead and bolt this down all the way, and then as soon as we do this, we're gonna go ahead and get the backup bolts or the reverse lockout bolts on, and after that we're gonna get our shifter on just so we can see and verify that the shifter is in the location that we want it to be. Loctite it. I'm just Loctiting it because the last thing I want to do is be on track, be throwing the gears around, and then have one of these bolts vibrate out, and when that happens then I will lose being able to get into each gear, which is obviously not what you want when you're sliding around or driving for that matter, because I mean when you're operating a motor vehicle, sliding it or even driving it at high rates of speed, the last thing you want is your shifter to pop out. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm going to take the next step and I'm gonna get this all ready to go. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I could be mistaken, but I believe it goes bolt, then lockout, plate, then 2 washers, then you go with the spacer. So that's how it's gonna go. I'm just gonna go hand tight because then we're going to be able to adjust it the way we need to. Swing it out, or 2 washers. You ever have it where like you're gonna go say a part or whatever and you know what it is and then you just don't say it and you're just like, oh cool, like that's not what I meant to say, and then you're trying to figure out like what the name of it is because you're second guessing yourself. Yeah, that's what I do all the time. It's great. It's a great way to do stuff and be, you know, be unique. All right, so anyways, so I'm just gonna snug it down to wherever it wants to land. Okay, so now I'm going to put it down, reverse. All right, so that's where reverse is gonna be. Jeez, so notchy. There we go. Okay, so now we're gonna go as close to it as possible. I guess he said he wants it to be touching, but then I'm also gonna go 6 because I want to make sure. Actually, 6 is probably better because then you can actually see. So now this can go a little closer. Cool. So now that's back in neutral, we can go down to the right. Oh, perfect. That's exactly how we want. That's exactly how it needs to be. Cool. So I'm hoping you guys can see that this right here is pretty much underneath this lip. So if you went out of gear, it's hitting it now. So it's super close to it, but it's not hitting it, which is nice. So you can definitely tell when you're in 5th and 6th because it's very close to this lockout, but it's not hitting it. And then when you go down over and get into reverse, you don't have to go all the way down, but it's nice to be able to know that you're in reverse by going all the way down. But this lockout is going to be just hitting the tip of it, so you know that it is in reverse. And that's all you really need, because once it hits it right there, there's a little bit of contact happening. That is how the reverse lockout is going to work. I already Loctited all of these bolts down, so this shifter's not going anywhere. So very glad for that, and now it's back in neutral. So I'm actually extremely pleased that I figured out that you can use this, basically the cup, to be able to see when you're shifting. I think once it gets in the car, it's going to be hard at first to know which gear you're in, but then after a while, I think it's going to get a little easier. So, alright guys, so just got done editing this video, and I will give you guys a heads up for most of the videos that are coming up. They were filmed a while ago, so I don't have many outros for all of them. I will unfortunately be ending most of the videos like this, but honestly, not too worried about it. As far as the shifter goes though, what I do want to add on is the shift cup. I found out that when you're shifting into each gear, you can use the shift cup to maneuver it easier. It was just the way to go to make sure it went into every single gear. To be honest with you, it's very sturdy and lightweight. And what I didn't mention in this video, I actually ended up having to drill out the shift linkage where the shift cup goes over. And the reason why is because when it lined up and I went from the top, it wasn't totally lining up with the hole of the shift cup. So what I ended up doing is taking a drill bit the same size as the roll pin, and I ended up just opening up that hole in the shift linkage so that the roll pin could go in nicer, because I was going to take the roll pin out and then go from underneath, which I don't know if it would have changed anything. I would be careful with doing this if you guys are going to do it, because you don't want to go too large of a hole. You don't want to drill it out too large, because the shift linkage, the material, like the metal that it is, when you do start drilling it out, it's going to drill out really quickly and really easily. So make sure to find the exact drill bit for the roll pin so that when you do drill it out, the roll pin will stay in there, because the last thing you want is the roll pin to vibrate and shoot down out of the shift cup to the shift linkage. Make sure that it's nice and snug in there, because the last thing you want to do is have it fall out. But all in all, I'm really excited so far on how everything is mounting up. I do have a little teaser for the next video. I did make the bell housing look OEM. I haven't taken the automatic transmission out of the SC yet. I'm not driving the car currently. The SC is just sitting. It's going to probably sit for the rest of the winter, since it's winter now. The only thing I have to do is get the drive shaft for it, which I'm just waiting on funds for that. It's the last thing I have to do to get everything bolted up, so to speak. I also have to figure out the wiring for the reverse shift sensor. I just need to figure that out so that once I get into reverse, the rear lights on the car will work. So, and then I also have to figure out the wiring for a digital tachometer I got, which I'm going to do an unboxing with and show you guys, and show you in more detail in that video on how that goes. Also, I do want to just add real quick that I will be going over everything that I got, like the entire breakdown of what I spent, so to speak. I will let you guys know that the numbers will be as accurate as possible, because then if you guys go for it, I want to give you guys current prices so that you guys can kind of get an idea. I want to give you guys the most accurate, current, real world idea of how much everything costs that I got. So that's going to be at the very end of this series. But I'm super glad on how this is all going, and I can't wait for you guys to see more of it, because then I get to do more. So anyways, I'm gonna let you guys go. I'm gonna stop talking story, and you guys know the deal. Like, subscribe, and comment. Follow the Instagram for more things. On Instagram, I will promise you that I do more current updates than on my videos. It's more of a current platform than doing all the edit. Definitely go follow me on there. And with that being said, guys, always think positive and stay true who you are. Shoots! Until next time.